On today's show, the Dallas Mavericks get a win against a starsless Pelicans team. Let's go. Jaden Hardy gets some run. Luka Doncic and Christian Wood have a great connection. Talk about that and more on today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks.
Mavericks, NBA champions. Bang! It's good! And the Mavericks have won the game!
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Loyalty never fades away.
And welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager. Locked On Podcast Network, letting it ride. Thanks for making Locked On Mavs your first listen each and every day, and every post game. We are free and available on all podcast platforms, including YouTube. But the best way you can help us grow the show is to comment anything below. Give me one reason in the comment section. Give me one reason the Mavericks won this game. Joining me, as always, my co-host, writer, contributor at Mavs.com, the Hardy Party person, the One More Thing King. What you got for me, Isaac Harris?
It's the Jaden Hardy party. It's Saturday night. We're recording this on Saturday night. I think we might stay up all night, just in the Hardy Club.
And do what?
Party! Let's go party!
Let's go. All right, let's go. Let's go.
I actually don't know how long this goes on for.
Who's greater, Jaden Hardy or Tom Hardy?
Wow.
Jaden.
What about Ed Hardy? Isn't that designer that had a stranglehold on elementary school, notebooks and backpacks?
Oh, I was like, where are you going with this? Jaden is better. Yeah. It was a fun game. You took care of business against a team literally missing every decent player on their squad.
Wow. Shots at Herb Jones, shots at Jonas Valanciunas.
The Mavs cared zero crap about Herb Jones tonight.
They didn't care about Herb Jones at all.
Even though Jonas is fun.
Dallas Mavericks beat the Pelicans 127-117. No Zion, no Ingram, no CJ McCollum, no Larry Nance Jr. for the Pelicans. This was the play. A couple weeks ago, this was the play. You sit your stars and the Dallas Mavericks lose, and it got kind of close at the end. I'm not gonna lie. What did it? It got to within 6 at the end there. You're like, guys, can we win this game? But another one of these weird games. The Mavericks only won one quarter. They won the first quarter 34-15. They lost every other quarter. What'd you see in the first quarter?
They rebounded really well, and sorry, I couldn't keep it up. They did lose the rebounding battle tonight. Just wanted to point.
But they won it in the first quarter, though, so rebounding matters.
You ruined my. I couldn't even keep it going there. But no, I mean, Luka came out hot, right? I mean, he had 14 points there. He had 14 in the first quarter. The first quarter happens, you're like, all right, it's gonna be one of those nights, they
coast.
And it's like, this is what we need. This is gonna be a fourth quarter less Luka Doncic, which he ended up playing in the fourth. Probably won't see him tonight in OKC, but yeah. 15 to 34 in the first quarter, and both of them hit a couple threes, Tim and Luka. Christian Wood started off really well, got in foul trouble early on, though. Valanciunas just was like, all right, I'm going to get 2 fouls on you, even though you're scoring. And, but even when Christian Wood checked out, they kept on rolling. And yeah, they took care of business in the first quarter.
Yeah. And then I thought that the Pelicans didn't really know where to go offensively. It felt like a lot of times. Yeah. I mean, how many guys in the first quarter took shots? There had a bunch of guys with just 2 shots. Najee Marshall was handling the ball a lot for them, and he's playing out of position there. Jose Alvarado's not a set the table point guard. He started the game, came out pretty quick, and then you're like, okay, well now what are we doing? Now they don't have any set the table type guys. They don't have any go-to offensive players at that point, and so that's how you score 15 points if you just don't really have a set plan coming out if you don't have one of those stars. But Mavs took advantage of it.
They faced in New Orleans earlier in the season. It's game 4 of the season. Ingram, Zion didn't play at all either. And, that was the game that, Pelicans beat them. So Dallas definitely, had something to go off of going into this game, saying, all right, we can't take these guys lightly because we've already lost to them without Ingram and Zion. But in that first game they played early in the season, game 4, game 3 of the year, that's when Trey Murphy hit like 4 threes. Devontae Graham hit like 4 threes. Tonight, Trey Murphy or Devontae Graham didn't hit a 3 in the first quarter. But, they held some of these guys in check, and it felt like this is one of those games where if they came out flat and, it sucks and they lose to a team like this is where I'm like really questioning the coaching. But this is where I think coaching deserves some praise of like, hey, we're going to get this team prepared. We're going to learn from the first, mistakes we made that first time we played them without those guys, and they took care of business.
Jason Kidd changed the starting lineup. He started Dwight Powell with Christian Wood. Coming into that game, that lineup had only played like 127 minutes, which is like a game and a quarter, essentially, like a full game and a quarter worth of possessions. And it had like a really good offensive rating, 128 points per 100 possessions, and 130 points per 100 possession defense. What did you see from that lineup starting the game in this one?
Well, I mean, Christian Wood versus Valanciunas is going to be a super unique matchup, right? Like they're two totally different type of.
A very interesting way to put that, what you just said.
What, a unique matchup?
A unique matchup. It is a unique challenge for Christian Wood to guard Jonas Valanciunas.
But I think it's the other way around too, to where like Valanciunas couldn't get out on the perimeter on Christian Wood, and Wood finished with 4. Yeah, he finished with 4 threes tonight, and his ability to stretch the floor that hurt Valanciunas. Now, you look down low and Valanciunas he only had 10 boards. I thought he could have had like 20 in this rebound, in this game going into it. But, he got some fouls early on and Christian Wood early. But everything for them just came down to, the points and stuff early on. It's like you said, I mean, their 3 main offensive guys didn't play in this game. So you start looking across the board, and it's like they got a bunch of like 3-and-D dudes or like specialist guys. If I was them, I honestly I would have went to Valanciunas more and post him up and try to really just slow the game down. But they just didn't have an answer for Luka. They played so much drop on Luka that it's just like, you're really, which, no matter who you are, you're playing against Luka, you're just picking your poison. Like, what? I mean, Luka can beat any defense, but drop, like you're going to play drop on Luka and just, take the guy under and drop the big and just dare Luka. Just like, not only you're giving Luka shots, but you're allowing Luka so much space to just make decisions that it's always just funny to me when I see teams play drop.
Counterpoint for the Pelicans. If they didn't drop Valanciunas, he would have fouled out in like 2 minutes, I think, against Luka, because I think Luka would have just had him up in the air and all over the place and draped all over him. But I love that Dwight Powell, Christian Wood lineup to start allowed them to double Valanciunas a little bit more. And they doubled Valanciunas throughout the game, even when they didn't have 2 bigs out there. Even when they had just JaVale out there. And JaVale, we'll talk about him a little later on.
Yes, we will.
We'll talk about him. But even when they had JaVale out there, they doubled Valanciunas. And I thought that was a defensive strategy they chose that was actually really positive, because
he's the only dude who could score.
He was the only guy that was going to score like ISO points or like buckets on his own. So they decided to throw the double on him. It worked out well for him. And, you had the first half, Mavericks really, really took care of business, especially that first quarter. And the rest of the game, they just kind of coasted through the rest of it, even though it got close there.
They only hit 5 threes in the game. So, when you go against a team like this that is missing all those guys, that have a bunch of these like specialist guys or 3-and-D guys, for just lack of better terms there, then just guard the perimeter, right? Like dare these guys, dare Trey Murphy, dare Herb Jones to take you off the dribble and try to score. And that's what they were trying to do. That's just not their like skills, because all the other dudes who set up the offense, didn't play in the game. So it was a smart game plan from Dallas, because they went 5 of 29 from 3. They didn't shoot a ton of threes. They didn't obviously make a ton of threes. Only 17% for them tonight, New Orleans. So it was a great game plan, great performance all around, especially, for that dumb little stretch at the end.
It's not real defensively a great performance later. But
well, yeah. But
coming up, let's talk about the Luka and Christian Wood connections. I thought they had some really good plays tonight. What are we seeing from that duo? And then, of course, we'll talk about Jaden Hardy and
JaVale McGee.
Talk about that coming up. All right, Isaac Harris, let's get into the rest of this game. The Dallas Mavericks get the win against the Pelicans. And Luka and Christian Wood, I thought had just one of their best connecting games where you could just see the chemistry between the two of them. Like Luka and Porzingis would have one of these games every once in a while where you could just feel like there was a rhythm between the two of them. You could tell that they were both, like if you're a musician, on the same like BPMs. Like they were on the same rhythm, the same beats per minute. And Luka finished with 34 points, 10 boards. He got that 10th board. He really got that 10th board. Really wanted it. 10 assists. And then Christian Wood had 28 points with 4 threes. What did you see from the duo there in Christian Wood and Luka?
Christian Wood, 28 points in 23 minutes. It's really, really effective.
Yeah.
You should like send those DM those tweets or those stats to somebody. And the Christian Wood Luka combo tonight. I think one of the things with KP and Luka was coming into it, KP thought he was on Luka's level. Like,
yes.
I think that was one of the things all along.
100% too. Some people, I'm sure you listening are probably like, there's no way he thought. He did. He thought that.
But you also got to look at it too and say different backgrounds, right, of Christian Wood and KP. Like KP was a, top, he went 4th or 5th overall in his draft, top draft pick in his draft. He was an all-star one time. Like, I mean, KD, everybody talking about a unicorn. So like all that stuff, like he'd accomplished more. Christian Wood was undrafted, like literally undrafted out of UNLV, bounced around the league. And even though he's, put up some good stats over the past few years and playing really good basketball now, it's like in tweeting before the season about being an all-star and all this stuff. He's still like, it feels like he still knows his place, that he knows his place in a way of, hey, this is Luka's team, and I'm going to embrace that it's Luka's team. And that's where it feels like they have a more of a connection than KP and Luka ever did.
Yeah.
at least on the court.
And more consistently too.
Yeah, and you see them, both talking about it, which, KP and Luka talked about it too, but like even some of the longer quotes Luka's given out of, hey, when I yell at him, I think he told Callie Kaplan that, of like, when I yell at him, he doesn't care, like all that stuff.
He doesn't get mad at me.
They have fun out on the floor, but he gives him a lot of what KP gave him, the pick and pop option with the pick and roll option. So yeah, they had the lobs going down tonight. The no look one-handed lob from Luka. He really didn't get Valanciunas with it. It was funny because Valanciunas he still passed at the perfect spot. And then the clip of Luka like going down the floor, like looking at his hand, it was just like what. He doesn't know ever what he's gonna do.
The little dance, the little like no look dance that he did, like,
yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that was in the third quarter. Just an absolutely wild pass. But I thought that their connection, I thought was you felt that rhythm. You felt that Luka could hit Christian Wood wherever he was, and that Christian Wood, I feel like, and we've seen this on 3-point shots, but I thought we saw it more in this game than before. Him getting to the right spot in the lane in order to get a pass from Luka. Like there was just like at the end of the third quarter, Luka whipped that pass like right over a double team right to Christian Wood, who was by himself in the paint. Like just little plays like that show you, first of all, what a savant Luka is at getting people the ball, but also you start to see the connection. You start to see that Luka and Christian Wood know, all right, if I'm going to get doubled here, Wood's like, I'm going to roll right the basket, and I'm going to turn around, I'm going to know where the ball is, and Luka's going to hit him right there with it. And like that connection is really, really necessary for this team going forward. It was great to see it in this one. And, man, a Christian Wood wide open 3 is like, I'm the most confident in that shot. I think that maybe any shot the Mavericks take right now, like any wide open, I think besides maybe Luka, and maybe even Luka, because Luka's set like catch and shoot 3s aren't as great, but like I feel like I'm more confident in Christian 3 wide open catch and shoot 3 than like anyone else on the roster.
More than Reggie?
Yeah. More than Reggie, more than Tim, more than Jaden Hardy even. Oh man.
No, it's Wood or Luka.
I mean, but even Luka's catch and shoot 3s are like, that's not like
because we don't see them. I'm just saying it would be one of those two guys and it's crazy to think of it because Christian Wood, is what, 6'10", 6'11", and he's shooting 40% from 3, I think.
The foul trouble is kind of concerning. Christian Wood only plays 7 minutes and 32 seconds in the first half. He has 3 fouls, and it's something you're just gonna have to watch, right? If the Mavs ever play a center like that in the playoffs at a certain point, or even just some kind of big like that, Christian Wood getting in foul trouble is really gonna hurt this team. And Dwight Powell's getting in foul trouble. JaVale McGee, we're gonna talk about him in a second. He played like his first 12 minutes, he had 5 fouls. Like this was another one of those games where just every big on the Mavericks team was just getting a ton of fouls called against them. And even the Pelicans, I thought there was a bunch of fouls called against their bigs. But yeah, so the Luka Wood connection continues on. We saw an incredible Jaden Hardy game, I thought. He finished the game 15 points, couple of steals. He had a rebound, 7 of 9 from the field, hit a 3. Thought Jaden Hardy, one of the big things that he did really well in this game and that we've seen a little bit more and definitely better than what we saw last year in some of the, the scouting stuff we did doing our draft profiles. He's finishing at the rim really, really well. Like he had a couple of really good finishes. That one play in the what was it? I think it was in the third quarter where he ISOs on the top of the key against Herb Jones and then finishes around him. Like that's just not a play I would have expected him to finish coming into this year when he got drafted.
Yeah, I will push back a little bit on the like finishing at the rim thing. If you guys remember our draft profile thing, when we talked about this is one of the things thrown out about him about his finishing at the rim. And I sat there on that pod and said, I am not worried about him finishing at the rim at all because he can finish. Because it wasn't because I remember us talking about it because that was one of the big talking points. We went back, watched every single possession in the G League last year in which he finished at the rim. And it wasn't he's too small and he's getting blocked all the time. It wasn't he just going down there and he just can't get the shot up. It was him making bad decisions of when to challenge people. That was my biggest takeaway. It wasn't that he couldn't finish at the rim. It was the decision making around the rim. And that's where he's a little bit more polished now, a little bit more mature with the ball around the basket. So it's like, I never had an issue with it. It's like he could finish at the rim. He has all the moves to finish at the rim. It's just when is he going to decide when to take it to the rim? That's what he had to figure out. And I think that's what he's gotten better at is the decision making around the rim. That's what it is. And he's so smooth, so fun with the basketball, so fast. I'm excited. I still don't know like what the pathway is for him in the rotation, but they're saying all the right thing. I want to see we all want to see what it looks like when Josh, Dorian, all the guys come back and it's like, all right, now let's see how it all shakes out.
I asked Jaden Hardy after the game, I said, what's the biggest difference between you finishing last year in the G League and finishing this year in the NBA, especially tonight? And he said the one thing is focus. And that totally what you just said about his weaknesses last year was he can finish at the rim. He has the ability. It just was that it's like some of it decision making and some of it just like it just didn't work sometimes when he finished. And so in this game especially and throughout this year, he's focused a lot more at the rim. He's focusing on, getting through contact and making sure that he's completely locked in that moment to get the ball at the rim. And that's what he has to work on, right? Is the focus, especially in some of these drives. You saw one tonight where the thing I've been harping on him about is that he drives in the lane sometimes, just collapses and then turns it over. And then that creates a really awful like live ball turnover transition for the Mavericks or for the Legends or whatever team he was playing with. But if you focus through it, you stay committed to the decision you make, and he did so well in that tonight. Hit a catch and shoot 3, which you love to see, and then had a bunch of really good finishes. Ended up finishing the game, and man, he was out there when the lead was kind of slipping with that really young group that the kid decided to throw out there. But
it was a tough group. You can tell he has the it factor, though, in the sense of not the it factor as like Luka, superstar of the league it factor, but like the it factor when it comes to just, I hate when this term's thrown out, but it's like you just gotta like throw it out. The hooper, like
he's a hooper. He's built different, Isaac.
But he has that feeling of him and Frank are both players in the National Basketball Association, but totally different type of vibe of players,
mentality.
Right? Like. It's like you can throw him out there and you see whenever you hear everybody talk about him, it's like, dude, he's just a bucket. Like he's got the feel for the game in the sense of like scoring the basketball. And that's the fun. I mean, whatever we've always said Jordan Poole on this pod. I've seen a friend of the pod, Oscar Gruya tweet, that he's Roddy B incarnate tonight. That's a lot of fun. whatever his role is, it's going to be a lot of fun to see him develop.
He had a quote after the game tonight. Callie Caplan tweeted it out. He said, "I'm not being really scared of anybody. It's just hooping. I've been doing it my whole life." That's a Hooper quote right there. Like that is a guy that knows, like, all right, hey, it's just basketball, right? And like that's the mentality you want from a guy that has to earn minutes and has to go out there and is only going to get like 5 minutes here, 15 minutes here and there. Like, you got to come out there and not be scared of a moment, be able to do what you do. And he did. He went out there in 15 points. And you've kind of seen now with Jaden Hardy, like anytime he's going to get anytime he gets like 10 minutes or so, he's going to score 10 to 15 points. It's just the way that he is, like he's that talented and that skilled of a scorer. That he's just going to go out there. Yeah, anytime he's had over 15 minutes, he's scored exactly 15 points in the Chicago game without Luka, the Boston game, and then now in this Pelicans game, he scored 15 points in each of them. Do you want to talk about your boy,
JaVale McGee?
I mean, I got to at least talk about the one game that he's looked serviceable.
JaVale McGee comes out. Christian Wood gets in foul trouble. Dwight Powell gets in foul trouble. JaVale McGee enters in the first quarter and has right out of the gate, like 10 seconds after he comes back in, huge block on Jonas Valanciunas, gets a rebound after that, and you're like, oh dang, like we're actually seeing what we hoped that JaVale McGee could be.
Oh yeah, I mean he had one block tonight at the rim. I want to say it was Herb Jones in the second half. He went over there, grabs the ball from the ref, and then signs the ball, like acts like he's signing the ball with a fake marker.
That's like a Terrell Owens thing to do.
I was laughing so hard from JaVale, but had a couple dunks, and it's just like, yeah, I mean, you tweeted out during the game, it's like, this is what the Mavs hoped they'd gotten, when they signed JaVale, and it's, they haven't gotten it at all this season. So if they could, get some spot minutes like that from JaVale, that would be huge for him, as the season goes along against guys like, Valanciunas is up.
One of the hard things about a game like this, though, is you start looking around the roster and you're like, well, JaVale played well and Jaden Hardy played well and, Tim played really well. And like, oh, Dwight did some things. And like, Christian Wood was awesome. You're like, okay, let's hold on because they're literally playing against the backups of the backups of the Pelicans with the Pelicans missing 4 guys. So you start looking around and you're like, okay, well, let's not start acting like all these guys are just so different than the Celtics game, like the game before where we were saying, oh, Luka has no help and there's nothing else going on for him. But we did see JaVale McGee to protect the rim, which they really needed, get 6 rebounds, which they've really needed. And if he can add any of that, like we didn't even have such high expectations for him at the beginning of the season. It was like, can he play 15 to 18 minutes a night? I didn't think he was going to start, but then they promised him that he was going to.
I was higher on it than you were, and I was high on it in the sense of I thought he would be a replacement for Dwight Powell and play that 15 to 18 minutes, get more rebounds than Dwight, protect the rim better than Dwight, and he just hasn't been that at all. Like he's just looked old. But tonight it's been fun. It was fun tonight.
It was, and but 5 fouls in 12 minutes is definitely concerning from that point of view. But a lot of the Mavs bigs were in foul trouble in this one. Luka had a couple of moments in this game. There's a moment in the third quarter where he, like early in the third quarter, he fell right in front of the Mavs bench. And he's sitting there, and I pulled out my Sharks binoculars, and I looked across, and like he's sitting right under Cuban. It's just like this weird thing. And Luka gets up and he's holding his lower back and he's like kind of like does that Luka thing where it looks like he's like seriously injured, but we know that he's going to be okay in like 5 minutes. And I focused on Cuban, and Cuban is like, oh, he's like so mad about Luka falling down, like Luka getting hurt, and then Luka like went and finished his triple double. It was like such a weird moment, but Luka doesn't seem like he's going to play in the Thunder game. They kept him out there for extended run. What did he finish with like 39 minutes in this game? So doesn't seem like he's going to play against the Thunder. What do you expect to see against the Thunder? We've been told that we're going to get more Hardy, but we'll see if that's true because Jason Kidd doesn't necessarily he doesn't.
Well, I saw these. He also
tell you guys the truth.
Yeah, he also talked about Jaden Hardy being 6-man stuff before the game, and he was the 11th man checked into the basketball game tonight for the Mavs. But Yeah, I mean, if Luka, assuming he doesn't go against OKC, got to see who else doesn't go. Sometimes when they do this, is it's a couple of guys that don't go in the game. But yeah, more Jaden Hardy, more Spencer Dinwiddie. If Christian Wood's playing in this game, go off Christian Wood. Let's do your thing. Let's get a 35-point game from Christian Wood in OKC. That'd be huge.
Yeah, this could be the Wood 40-point game, but they have a bunch of wings they can throw at him, and he has struggled against wings like that. And so I'm really interested to see how he's going to respond and how he's going to play when it's like, all right, you're the guy now, basically. It starts with Dinwiddie, and then it goes to you. Let's see, in the last two Thunder games, Christian Wood has scored 8 points and 11 points. He took 9 shots and 10 shots in those games. So their wings have really bothered him. I'm really interested to see how he responds to that. And we should see an extended run of Jaden Hardy.
I don't always tell you guys the truth.
Jason Kidd said that he was going to, but I'm not 100% sure if we're going to. But that should be good. I'm excited to see that. And we'll have a post game after that. We'll continue have 5-day-a-week podcasts. And
over under 32.5 points for SGA.
Oh, give me the over 32.5. Okay.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
I'll take that.
Give me the over on that one because this team is not defending really well at all right now. We'll be back tomorrow with a post game pod. We'll have the rest of the pod this week, guys. Thanks for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Peace out.
Boom.